you might be. Thank you, dear listener, for tuning in today's Africa. Hope you are all enjoying your Saturday. We have a lightly rainy Saturday morning here in Toronto. It's feel like -6 degrees Celsius, a little bit cold, but it's fine. Those who are used to tune in, thank you very much for your fidelity. Those who it's the first time, warm welcome and thank you very much for tuning in. And we greatly appreciate to have you on board today. Without all of you, we won't be able to express our passion and dedication to our Africa, our mother Africa. Today we have a great co-host. They will join in a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen who put Africa tight at their hearts. We have our sister Cynthia Chirinda, and also we have our brother John Daniel, aka Gibe, and Dr. Francis Mpindu in Toronto. So they will join very shortly. Brother Theo, also our producer of this program in Toronto, like all of us, he puts Africa tightly at his heart, doing the hard work behind the scene prior to and during the broadcast. Our topic today, Developing Africa with Youth, Part 2. So last week we have the same topic, but today, as I mentioned last week, today's Africa, we have promised ourselves to devote a large place to our youth, our hope for today and for tomorrow. We had part 1 last week, as I said, but today we are having part 2. The reason why, first of all, in the importance of the youth in the development of Africa, a 1.5-hour program would certainly not be enough to discuss the contribution of the youth in the development of Africa, of our continent. Is the reason why we dedicate our program today again to the valiant African youth. Today, we have a very special guest, another perfect guest to discuss this topic. Sam Charles, he's a guest host, voice of the millennials, Love Bay Radio in Ghana. Sam Charles is a multi-talented individual who wears several hats. He is a self-publishing author, podcast host, and law school student. With his passion for writing, Sam has published books in 3 different languages, showcasing his versatility and love for linguistics. Apart from his creative pursuits, Sam is committed to contribute to the development of youth in his community. He strongly believes in empowering the next generation and helping them to achieve their full potential. Sam's dedication to his craft and his desire to make a positive impact on society is a testament to his character and values. He is an inspiration to many and continues to strive towards excellence in all endeavors. Good afternoon, Sam. We are so glad to have you today. Even though I have read an abbreviated bio of yourself, I will ask you to introduce yourself for the benefit of our listeners. Please,
Okay.
the floor is yours, Sam.
Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. Once again, my name is Sam Charles, and I'm from Ghana, born and raised in Ghana. I'm a self-publishing author, a podcast host, a writer, a law student, and also a speaker, an upcoming speaker. And it's my greatest passion to inspire people with my stories, with things that I've struggled with, and also with my little knowledge that I have that I believe would go a long way to help the development as a youth in a whole. Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. Actually, today we let the floor largely to you.
Okay.
You have a special guest to give
Okay.
us a vision how the youth should be able to help develop the continent in
Very
the
good.
millennial perspective. Actually, I'm seeing our sister Cynthia Chirinda. Good day, Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hello, hello. Greetings, Sam, and to our lovely host, Dr. Diallo. It's
Yeah.
really warm and youthful in here. So I saw Sam and I say, today I'm coming in my denims because I want to feel youthful.
Nice to
It's
see you.
awesome to be on this program. Thank you for hosting us. And
Thank you.
thanks to the producers of Love Bay Radio. And Sam, I really love your energy.
Oh, man.
I'm really happy to be able to be here and just to have
Thank
this conversation with you. Over to you, Dr.
Okay.
Diallo. And it's good morning. It's
Yeah.
snowing here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Good morning.
It's raining likely in Toronto, but not like -6 Celsius. So
Really.
not too bad. So but it's
We
different.
get bipolar weather here. It was very nice and bright and sunny
Yeah.
yesterday. Just last night, it was nice and light. And this morning, we wake up and we've got a whole snow cover. So, but over back to you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. With his appearance on the Today's Africa program, my co-hosts and myself will ask question to some in areas, some ways in which the youth can contribute to the development of Africa, like education, entrepreneurship, agriculture, technology, innovation, leadership, community development, youth advocacy, and how, in your opinion, the youth should be able to help develop the continent. These are the areas the panel today we may be probing and having a conversation with. So before we dive in our today's conversation, I would like to have maybe Sister Cynthia just to briefly. Today we promise ourselves we'll let you talk some more than we do. So we'll be less talkative today. So just briefly, Sister Cynthia. So what's your first word in regard to the topics versus how the youth should be able to help develop Africa in those areas? Sister Cynthia.
Wow, thank you so much. I can see we seem to have lost Sam there, but again, I speak not only as an African, but I speak as a mother when it comes to talking about Africa, the young people, and its future. When I speak as an African, I speak from a place of passion because I know that Africa has got so much that it can be and it can achieve if we are able to align our resources, and those resources, most of which are blessed with the human capital that we have on the African continent. If we're able to align those
Okay.
resources with what we want to achieve, welcome back, Sam.
Thank you.
That alignment will definitely help us
Yeah, I've done
so
that.
that our posterity
Yeah.
is not starting from a minus. One of the things that I have seen about other nations and continents is that the younger generation is able to start on a leveraged position because those that have gone before them have left inheritances for them. They have left systems that work. They have been able to mentor them, and they have been able to involve them to participate in leadership. And so when we talk about youth, young people developing Africa, and when I
Yeah.
speak now as a mother of young people, I am always so grateful for the opportunity of being able to be a co-creator with God,
Yeah.
to bring life on the earth and to watch a young life coming and budding up and being able to mold that life so that they can become something. So as a mother, one of the things that I've always prayed for my children who were born on the African continent, I gave birth to them all on the African continent, was to say, I know that the world that is out there, which everyone else who's on the African continent looks out to as being more developed, because that's what it's called, the developed world and the developing world. I have been concerned about that narrative, especially where we say this is the first world and this is the third world, because those are labels that have been put on us in categories. My concern has always been to say, how do I mold my children so that they begin to shift, firstly, their perception of their own continent, and also to shift how they view their contribution towards the development of their nation. So I have had to be very, very deliberate in making sure that the family institution becomes that first place where we groom our young people. The family institution has gone under a lot of attacks because most parents have now moved to the diaspora, for example. So that has affected a lot of things. So the young people are left, and sometimes they don't have the guidance that they need. So Africa is not only facing challenges from a government perspective, but even the family institution has also been affected. So how do we align our resources, the all the institutions that we have on the African continent, so that we can continue on a positive development trajectory? These are the things that are my heart's cry when we look at this topic of today's Africa, and the youth being part of that agenda that will help us. And I'm glad that Sam is with us today to be able to share some of the things that he is doing, and really excited that he has taken the initiative to go out there, write books and, be in that creative space. So these are some of my thoughts, Dr. Diallo, around Africa, its youth, and our development trajectory.
Thank you, Sister Cynthia. I don't know if it seems we lost some for some reason.
Yes, it is coming on and off. We hope that you will be able to get a consistent connection there.
Yeah. So thank you, Sister Cynthia. As you said, how do we align our resources, in order to be able to have our youth to work towards the development of Africa. And it's why, those topics we talk about previously, education, leadership, innovation, technology, etc. So let's start with the first topic, education. We know education is the key to unlocking the potential of Africa's youth. By investing in education, the youth can acquire the skills and knowledge needed to contribute to the development of their community and the continent as a whole. So while you are waiting for Sam to come back, what do you think in regard to the education? How can we, as you said, align education in terms of development in order to move forward for the Africans and the African descent in general? What do you have to say about that?
Dr. Diallo, that conversation is so critical. And I know many times on this broadcast, we have actually spoken about the need for us to really look at our curriculum. We look at the broad African curricula in terms of education, and our question is always, is this curriculum actually serving us, this education curriculum, is it serving and molding the lives of our young people? I can see Sam Charles is back. Sam, we are just talking about education, and Dr. Diallo had just thrown out a question to me. Maybe you want to just take that question again, and I'm sure Sam would also love to share his perspective on that.
Thank you, Sister Cynthia. Is we are hearing background noise? I don't know, it's from maybe some kind of background noise.
Yeah, it's like there's a background noise.
Okay. So go ahead. So yeah, I was saying. Go ahead.
Okay. I think it starts when I'm speaking. Okay, it's okay now. I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you, Sam. Go ahead. Dr. Diallo was just talking about what are your perspectives on education and its role in terms of what we would like Africa to be as a developed continent.
Okay, so what is my perspective with regards to involving the youth into the development affairs of Africa as a whole, right?
Yes, what would be some of your perspectives around education? What do you think is being done right? What could be done better? What have your experiences been personally?
Okay. So thank you so much for this opportunity once again. First of all, I've always been a firm believer of involving the youth into things related to developmental cultural affairs, especially
some of the audio is
Africa.
not really great, I believe. I don't know. We're having some kind of audio problem and background noise.
I think the line is not that clear. Okay, it's okay now. Yeah. So I was saying that always been a firm believer of involving the youth into things related to development and also governance. But then it's unfortunate that we happen to be in the continent where the youth don't really matter, especially when it comes to things.
Maybe you may turn off your video. Maybe it will improve the audio a little bit.
Maybe let him just finish, and then we can.
I think the line is not that clear.
Yes, just continue.
I don't know if it's okay now.
Yes, we can just continue, and we'll try to decipher what we can, and whatever we pick up, we'll be able to relay it again.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I was saying that we happen to be in a continent where the youth are often sidelined when it comes to issues related to politics and religion, especially. We come from a continent where, when the youth tries to speak up with regards to things related to politics, you have that.
Okay, I think he got cut off there. One of the things I could pick up that he was saying was that sometimes the young people are not taken into consideration in terms of what their real needs are when it comes to the education system. Those are some of the things that I could pick up from what he's trying to say, which is something I think that also aligns with the previous conversations we've had on this broadcast, where we have actually shared about how sometimes we have a lot of external interests and agendas coming in to affect our curriculum. I remember at some point, Dr. Francis Mpindu actually mentioned and said, why are we having a lot of infiltration of certain Asian nations where they are insisting that their languages should be taught in our institutions, yet our own ethnic languages, for example, are losing their value. So those are some of the things I believe that we want to be able to look at and say, how is our education focused on a positive growth and development trajectory? Because it's one thing us focusing so much more on our history, which is very important because people need to know where we have come from. Yet, if our curriculum is not forward-looking in terms of how do we become relevant to the present and to the future, and we have an education curriculum which even in its assessment systems does not really test the reflective ability of students, but rather is testing the ability to retain information, then we just have people with streams of A's who have cognitive abilities because they've been able to cram things for an exam and regurgitate things in an exam. But those approaches are not necessarily internalizing the process of them being able to reflect on knowledge, being able to translate that into wisdom that can be used in a useful way for development. So those are some of the thoughts that I could hear Sam Charles there trying to bring across, and also just reflecting on some of our previous conversations around education and how in Africa we really need to be more deliberate about how we're structuring the space of education.
Yes, thank you, Sister Cynthia. And also, I think education should be, we should adapt our curriculum to our own realities. And we're still using the realities based on the colonial system.
Yes.
And most of the time, the curriculum, it's not really what we need to develop Africa. I think the government, the leaders, they should design curriculum based on our own values, our own social system, our own culture, and also our own needs in terms of resources, in terms of development, in terms of opportunity, in order to really target really what we need in order to develop Africa based on our own reality. I think it's something, the government should think about, and I'm not sure they're still having those kind of thought right now. So the youth can be a good opportunity to influence those kind of sort in order to have the government to take the necessary steps to have the curriculum that we need, the curriculum lining up with our own value, our own interest, our own cultural, social, and economic development. Oh, it seems Charles is back. Charles,
Okay.
so
Yeah, it's been resolved now. I think the internet is okay now.
okay,
Oh, that's wonderful. We can hear
nice,
you so
nice,
well.
nice.
Okay. Yeah. So as I was saying that we live in a continent where the youth are often sidelined when it comes to issues related to politics, governance, religion, and all that. But that shouldn't be the case. I'm a firm believer that the youth probably are 20% or 30% or even 40% of the world's population right now, but we are 100% of the future. So if the leaders want to think about the future, the leaders want to invest into the future, they should try to involve the youth into a lot of things. And involving the youth isn't about just bringing them into governance, but then what the youth should also bring on the table. And I think these are the things that I would be talking about. Some of the things that the youth can bring on board with regards to education, innovation, and also agriculture. So yeah, that's what I was saying before I logged out.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Sam. And the youth should need to be heard. We need to
Yes,
involve them. We
very
need
true.
to have them, around the table, and to
Yes,
have their thought, to have
yes,
their voice. And it's why education is the foundation of
yes.
development,
We are the
and
future.
and and investing in education is crucial to building a prosperous future for Africa. So,
Yes,
government and other stakeholders should prioritize education at
very
all
true.
levels. So
Yes,
from primary to tertiary education. So this will equip young people with the knowledge and the skill needed to succeed in the workforce.
very
So
true.
we need to do that. And
Yes,
and I totally agree with you. You need to be part of the game. You need to
yes,
be part of the decision making. We
yes,
need to hear you. We need to listen to you, and we need to
yes,
take account. Your thought, your what you are bringing. At the
yes.
table.
Yes. And the thing is, when it comes to things related to politics, when a youth or someone, even in their 20s or 30s, tries to speak up, you are attacked to be disrespectful, you are attacked to be arrogant. We don't talk to elderly people this way, we don't correct older people, you are being arrogant. And the other day, I was telling a friend that governance and also politics as a whole, or even leadership as a whole, it's more like having a company. You can be a 31-year-old person with a huge company and employ someone who is 60 or 59. And it doesn't mean that when the person is messing up things in your company, you can't say, oh, please, this is not how things are done here. You can also correct the older person because it's your company, it's your future. You understand? So I believe that things like this should apply in politics, where even a younger person should be able to call out an older person. Because most of the mistakes, majority of the mistakes that these older people are making would 100% affect we the youth. And not even, it wouldn't even affect them a fraction. It wouldn't even affect them even one quarter of it, but then it all boils down to the youth. So I think that idea of we being disrespectful when it comes to talking about leadership, governance should be also scrapped away. And also, secondly, I think before the youth speaks, we should also learn to talk about we should learn to address social issues without being harsh, without being arrogant, without being disrespectful. For instance, hitting the streets for demonstrations and insulting leaders. I think that is a very wrong way of which the youth can go about it. There are ways that we the youth can express our grievances and also suggest developmental issues. And the first thing I think would be great would be using hashtags on social media for consistently. There's this issue where the youth come online, they trend something for about 2 weeks and they are done, they go back to their normal behavior. But then I think when it's persistent, it's constant, it's consistent, the government or the leadership would also get to hear us. And secondly, I think the betrayals and backbiting amongst the youth is too much. There was a time where in Ghana they ran this demonstration against the government called Fix the Country, and the conveners of the Fix the Country, some went to pass behind the scenes, collected money from the government, and along the line, they dropped the whole demonstration and it became the issue went dead. And that's another mistake that I think the youth is making. And also, I think another way that we, the youth, can make our suggestions is through letters to the government. And most of the times, it's often ignored because it's just a few people submitting the letter. But then I think the consistent submissions and how do we call it, consistent submissions and recommendations would be a great thing. Because I believe the youth is 100% of the future. Even though we are few, we are about 40% of the current population. We are the future. So the leaders should invest into the youth.
Thank you, Sam. Before I pass the floor to Sister Cynthia, I just want to read a question from listeners. So maybe you can address it. So someone said from our value listeners, education with hands-on training. But at the same time, our youth must be trained to understand presentation is a key to being taken serious. The Asian community ask and at times mandate their language to be taught and accessible because they value their language as the key asset to prosperity and paradigm shift. Unified communication is the key to economic stability. What do you have to say about that, Sam?
Okay, so I think personally, my opinion, when you ask me, I would say about 90% of the things we are being taught in school aren't life skills. About 90% throughout kindergarten, nursery, high school, most of them aren't life skills. They are not teaching us the real things in school. I hardly got taught about communication skills. They never taught me about communication skills, except it's a major for you in the university. I wasn't taught about how to relate with people, how to relate with authorities and all that. We were just taught about things in mathematics, which are also good though, but then we weren't taught the life skills. And education as a whole, I think we've gotten it wrong as Africans or as a country. So in Africa, our education is more like, read, understand it, and come and pour it. They'll give you a storybook about 3 pages, go and read it, come back and pour it. And they are not things that you can relate. You cannot apply any of them in your life school. So I think the education system, first of all, is a
I think we lost it. He's muted. We lost him.
Okay, I think it's his audio has paused. Those are very powerful points that he's talking about. Yes, we can hear you, Sam.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam. We can hear you. Maybe unmute yourself in case you are muted.
It's not.
I like the aspect that he has brought up there, Dr. Diallo, where he's talking about how sometimes you are given particular passages to read and there is no relevance in those things, and you're wondering what exactly it is that they want you to learn and how that is going to help you to move forward. I think those are very interesting reflections. Sam Charles?
Yes, he's back. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, and also I think the youth, there's not much encouragement for the youth in terms of education. Most of the things teachers and older people tell the youth tend to pull us down. So in Ghana, one time the Minister of Finance came to make an announcement that there are no jobs in the government sector. So the youth should try and find ways to, get businesses and stuff. And it was a very discouraging statement because 90% of those who go through university expect to graduate and get into the government field and start working. So telling them something like this already discourages them from supporting the government, from bringing up ideas, bringing their ideas and their innovations on board. Because already they are discouraged. Trust me, about 95% of the youth are discouraged in the government. They don't really believe that the government has anything good to offer. So I think that the encouragement is not there. We are often sidelined. We are not respected. We are not taught the right thing. We are always being taught about respecting the elderly person. When you see an older person coming, you have to behave, you have to do this and that. Instead of teaching us proper skills, we are hardly taught about things in money management. We are not really taught about life skills. I went to school for about 19 years and no teacher taught me that this is how to make money, this is how to learn the stock market, this is how to, start a company or business. And even with businesses, those who are teaching you the business management aren't people who have started businesses. They are not people, they just read it in the book and they also come and teach. They are not people who have the practical experience. And so I think that is also another issue when it comes to the communication.
Thank you, Sam. And you're absolutely right here. No encouragement in terms of education, no job opportunity. So it's not really, helping the youth to develop Africa. Actually, we have our brother John Daniels, aka JB. Good afternoon, JB. Good to see you.
Good afternoon, doctor. I was having problems with my connection, but I'm here now.
No problem.
I'm listening into what then I can contribute later. So you pass it on. I'm just so I just want to listen to where we are reached, then I'll know I have to contribute.
No problem. Thank you, brother JB. Actually, no, we what just some said about encouragement, no encouragement, no job opportunity, and they expect you maybe to have your own business. Maybe you can transition to the second topic in regard to entrepreneurship. The youth can also drive economic growth by starting their own business and by identifying gaps in the market and developing innovative solutions so they can create jobs and generate wealth. Sister Cynthia, what do you have to say before we let our special guest, to discuss that topic about entrepreneurship? I know you work a lot in terms of entrepreneurship in Africa with the youth. So what do you have to say?
Welcome to JD. It's good to see him looking so youthful. And I like that you are talking about this entrepreneurship just alongside what Sam Charles was just sharing with us now.
Yes.
He said that he finds it very tragic that in his 19 years of education, there was no time that he can remember being deliberately taught about how to make money. Yet, when we look at how the world systems work, money has definitely been that tool, that instrument, that vehicle that make things happen. Ideas come alongside, thought leadership comes alongside, but the money then becomes that resource that enables us to become enterprising and to be able to exchange or monetize our gifts and our talents. So it's great that Sam Charles has already broken the ground by telling us that in his own 19 formal years of education, he felt that issues around money, which really speaks into entrepreneurship, were not prioritized. And I think this is something that needs to shift.
Thank you, Assistant. In Africa, most of the time, the way we grow up, the mindset we have is you go to school, you elementary school, you go to university, you finish, you have your degree, and then you look for a job. If you find a job, and then you get married, you have kids, and that's it. So we don't have that mindset of entrepreneurship. And most of the time, it's good to have people, our own people, to start up business, because in other continents, they try to have that mindset, not only working for someone, but also you can start your own business and have people to work for you, and so generate a better economic development. So Sam, what do you have to say about entrepreneurship in Africa, in the youth millennial perspective? Seems some we are not hearing him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to JB. JB, what do you have to say in that respect?
Yeah, thank you, Doc. As a young man just said, in Africa, our school system, education system was such that they will train you, graduate, and go and look for government work to do. You are not trained to be independent, to be able to set up your own business and make money. So the mindset is that you go to school for 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever and you go and get your certificate, then you go and look for a job. That's why we have a lot of unemployed youth around. But a place like in China, they have taken advantage of the internet technology that is available, internet. And the young people, a certain percentage of the young people have managed to set up their own startups. And because there are a lot of factories in China, what these young people do is that they set up their companies, internet companies, then they link up to the big factories and sell their products online to their own millennials, their own age group. So within a huge segment of the society, you see that business will be thriving. It's not like somebody who finish school and will be looking up to the government to give him an umbrella as we have in Africa. And so the education system of Africa should be tuned into such a way that the curriculum should be made in such a way that, I mean, before you finish the schooling, no matter what course you pursue at the secondary or the university level, tertiary level, you should be able to be independent. And if you decide that you will set up your own business, you can do it, because definitely if a young man set up a business, then you will employ 1 or 2 people in addition to his main job that he's doing. So it means that we should turn our education system in such a way that it will be beneficial to the future of our countries. Because if you say the future, the youth are the present and the future of our countries, then definitely we should give them skills that will enable them to be entrepreneurially savvy, so that they can set up those businesses that they themselves can get money, as the young man Charles was saying, and be able to employ other people. It means that when the factories produce those goods, there's a ready market for them. But here we are, we send the youth to school from the primary school, secondary school to the tertiary level, and they come up and they get their certificate only about the subjects that they were taught. How do you expect such a person, individual, to be equipped into the job market? So I think the young man really made the good point that I'm following. I hope he has come so that you continue. Otherwise,
thank you, JB. Thank you, brother JB. You know, encouraging entrepreneurship can help create jobs and promote economic growth. So, government, they should and they can support young entrepreneurs through access to finance, mentorship, and networking opportunities. So, Sam, what do you have to say about that?
Okay. First of all, as it's more like it relates to the first point that I was making, that we are not really taught life skills, and life skills also include entrepreneurship, starting businesses, starting companies, and all that. This is the case. We've gone to school for about 20 years. We don't know how to start a business. We don't know what's the first step in starting a business. We are just told that when you're able to calculate X minus this, you arrive at this answer. You go to secondary school, you have taught the same thing. You get to university, you decide to branch into probably communication or something, or the real estate or anything, and you are not really taught the life skills. You don't even get a practical example. It's just something written from a book and they explain it to you. And we are not really, as I was saying, we are not really motivated. We are not really inspired to start our companies. The government don't tell us anything that we are having a job fair. This is how you can start a company. We are inviting an entrepreneur, a finance guru to the universities to talk to us about how they started their businesses. We are just being taught by people who went through the same education system, graduated, and coming back to teach us the same thing they learned. So I think that is another thing that really doesn't motivate the youth into getting into entrepreneurship. And also with regards to agriculture, in Africa, agriculture has been termed to be like a punishment. So when you're in school, in secondary school, and they want to punish you, they make you do something related to agriculture. Either you go and you go to the school farm or something. So it's like agriculture looks like a punishment. It looks like something for people who are bad. Agriculture isn't that lucrative, irrespective of the fact that there's so much money in the agriculture field. People see it to be a punishment. To me, I used to find it like a punishment or a very difficult job, because when they are punishing you in schools, you are either going to weed or you are going to the school farm. So it all discourages the youth into getting into agriculture and also entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. You know, all comes down to the fact, you know, there is no enough encouragement from the leaders, from the government. So you need encouragement. So, Sister Cynthia, what do you have to add? What just Sam said?
He's absolutely right. I think the fact that you are being taught from a theoretical perspective without actually having practical engagements with role models that the students admire, because I know that the African young people are seeing these movers and shakers in the entrepreneurial space. And many times they don't have the opportunity to rub shoulders with them. So I think that our education systems should actually be creating deliberately the platforms for conversations to happen between the real life lectures. So what did you do? What steps did you use? What would you would you encourage us as young people to do? How do we develop hubs? How can we at this time be attached to your organization, for example, just for a few weeks and a few months to learn how you're doing in your business? That is practical engagement. And I really like that aspect that he brought about in terms of just agriculture having been used as a punishment. And it's really sad because when you look at our food security issues, this is where it stems from, because the appetite has not been built naturally. I was just having a conversation with someone yesterday around how when I grew up, my father would not actually hire a house help or a gardener. He ensured that we did all of that farming and gardening. And I was saying that, of course, things have shifted for the younger generation. But how do we, as parents, also actively engage them to make sure that they are actually growing their own food in their backyard? Because in Africa, we do have that advantage that most of us have space. So I was having this conversation with someone and saying sometimes in what we want to co-progress, we are also affecting how our young people perceive what food production is all about, being able to grow food in your own background. So I just have a quick question for Sam. Sam, I really like what you're doing in terms of just the space of entrepreneurship, innovation. I'm very keen to hear about your books. What have you been writing about, and what drove you to start authoring as a self-published author?
Okay, so with regards to the things I've been writing about, I started writing books because I felt my social media page weren't enough. I can't write that much on social media. I can't talk about something much on the internet, maybe YouTube or podcast. So I actually converted it into writing. But for now, I've written most of my books, like most of them are Christian books, and I'm currently working on more practical and social issues. These are books that I'm currently working on. So in some few months time, I'll be working on a lot of books that will talk about social issues. But for now, most of them are Christian books and self-help books.
And I must congratulate you and say that it's very encouraging that as a young as a young person. Okay, I think
there is a background noise.
Hello, Sam. Right, I was just saying we really celebrate you that you have taken this initiative to publish, because this, as we talk about education, being able to read literature that's written by another African, and not just any African, but a young African. This is the kind of exposure that we also want our young people to have.
Very true.
It inspires others to be able to learn from your experiences.
And it's something that I'm very passionate about. I really want the voices of the youth to be heard, because it's like when you try to speak, they stifle your voice with threats. You don't respect, you don't talk to older people this way. That way, it's more like there's no relationship between younger people and older people. Everything that it's more like our relationship is based on you don't respect because you said something that I did wrong. And it really worries me a lot. Since high school, primary, everywhere, that has been my issue. That has been my problem.
Okay, good. Sam, it's what you are actually, it's what I should call youth-led advocacy. So you young people, you have the unique perspective on the challenges facing, our communities. And you can play a crucial role in advocating, even not only, for policies, but for policies to support developments. So it's why, as you said right at the beginning, you need to be heard. We need to listen. We need to have you around the table. You need to be part of the decision making. So I understand you work on few books. I don't know, 2 or 3 books, and in different languages. Maybe you can summarize in terms of those books what the issues you have brought in those books, and briefly before we maybe let our brother JD to have the floor. What issues have you brought in those books? And I think it's 2 or 3 books you have published so far. Sam? Sam? It seems he's having a audio problem. Brother Brother JB. So what you have to say about what he said, and in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of the fact he can be youth, they can be advocate in terms of development, in terms of policies to go through development of Africa. What do you have to say, Brother JD?
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. I was going to ask him. I'm more interested in the agriculture side of it. I was going to ask him the way he said when we were in school, they were punished to go and read. So by the time you finish school, you have this hatred for going to the land or going to farm. And we know that without food, we can't feed ourselves. It cannot be such that the COVID and the Russian war taught us that we can't always rely on other people to supply us the basic food items that we need. We have to be self-sufficient. We have to farm and do agriculture so that we can produce the basic food ingredients that we need. But now that our education system has made it so difficult for the young people to go into agriculture, how do we reverse the trend? I was going to ask Charles that, but when he comes back, I'll ask him. But definitely, the way the world is now, we can't use the old model of education to impart knowledge to our millennials or the young people. You have to change the model. And the model is such that when you go through the school system, by the time you finish, you should be able to get some work to do yourself. And that's what we call the entrepreneurship skills. Well, we should inculcate into the curriculum the entrepreneurial skills so that no matter what subject you do, our attention should be focused on after school, what can you do for yourself and for your immediate friends? That should be the mentality. That after school, what can you do for yourself and for your immediate friends? Because then that will mean that it should be the government policy said that we should change our curriculum to suit the modern times. Because without changing the curriculum, if you use the old curriculum, that has brought us to this situation where every time within 2-3 years, our economy goes bad, we have to go for loans, and the loans come with conditionalities, and they come and take our raw materials away for cheap. So definitely, every African government should realize that the system should change. And it will start from our education system. And I think Charles' advocacy, Charles and people like him, the advocacy will also help a lot. Charles, if you are back, I wanted to ask you, when you were speaking, you said the nature of our school system, when you go wrong in the class, you'll be giving some portion of the school park to read as a form of punishment. And because of that, most people don't want to go back to the land.
Yes.
But now we know that without the land, without going back to the land, we can't feed ourselves. So as a young man who is there with your peers, what do we do to encourage the young people to have interest in agriculture? That's what I wanted to ask you when your line went off.
It's a very good question. I think most of the youth are being driven by money. So when the government invests a lot into the agricultural sector, maybe in the year we are employing over 200,000 youth into the agricultural sector, this is the amount of money we are going to pay you. People would prefer to do that than sit at home and be on the internet and be making noise. People would be interested in the agriculture. But then here's the case: the government doesn't really show interest in the agricultural sector. They are not really providing the fertilizers that people need. So I think the money factor would be the best thing to drop the youth into the agricultural sector, because they are most of them are driven by money. So investing much more, increasing the salaries of farmers. There should be something like farmers who are for the government. There's a land apportioned for the government, and those who be employed to work on are people being employed by the government. They will be on the payroll. They are being paid consistently. constantly. They are paid on time and everything. I think that'll be a very great way for the youth to get involved in agriculture. And when they start working on the agricultural field from the government, along the line, they'll develop the interest to start their own, farms and agricultural businesses. So I think that's also another great way to push the youth to that side.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I agree with you, the government should create and enable, environment for young to
Yeah.
access to finance in order to, because we have the lands, we have the land in Africa for agriculture. All what we need, first of all, government to help you, to support you in this aspect, to have you access to finance in order to start up, a business in terms of for agriculture, and also to have those development services to promote agriculture. As you said, not seeing agriculture as a punishment, but to seeing agriculture as a way to develop Africa. Because if we use our land, if we get into agriculture the way we're supposed to, today we'll be self-sufficient. We won't need to import food from outside. But all those things need to be, taken care of by the government. The government need to support you, as you said. Sister Cynthia, what do you have to say before we pass on to the next topic?
I just wanted to ask a question. I know, Sam, you are a multi-talented individual. You wear several hats, apart from your self-publishing, authoring, for your podcasts, and being a law student. So my question, I actually have two questions for you. Firstly, when you're looking at your studies in law and how that will speak into issues of policy, how do you see yourself using that career path as something that will help you to speak into policy issues? And then second question would be around some of your community development projects, or some of the efforts that you're making in terms of getting the youth in the community engaged. What kind of support do you need? And what would you also encourage other people who are seeing young people like yourself trying to make and start out these initiatives that empower the young people in the community? What advice would you give to people in terms of being able to support you? So two questions. How are you planning to use your legal pursuits in your studies in legal studies for policy making? And what support do you need as a youth advocate who's got community development initiatives?
Okay, very great questions. So the first question is, as a lawyer, your job is to defend people, to speak for people, be the voice of the voiceless. So first of all, I think as a law student or someone who is in the legal field, the first thing is to call them out. Now, we should be able to call those who are perpetrators of the law out without fear, without having the fear of being arrested and all that. Because as I mentioned earlier on, where we come from, when you try to call someone out, the leaders are always making mistakes. They are always trespassing the laws. When you try to call them out, you are attacked to be disrespectful. You are attacked to be arrogant. You are a young person. You can't tell an older person what to do and all that. So I think the first thing is to be calling them out, constantly mentioning the mistakes that these people are making. The politicians are always faulting at the law. Recently, in 2020, the elections, we could see clear example of law breaking. They were fighting in parliament, breaking ballot boxes when the normal citizens were being shot for things that they also did. The same thing that they did, theirs were even worse. So I think calling them out will be the first thing. And my fellow law students, my fellow people who also have the platforms should be the first people to be able to call them out. And also, with regards to the support, I would say that we should have something like a youth union, in the sense that we wouldn't be for being chaotic and all that, because there've been so many associations like the youth political parties who are into a lot of chaotic activities. They go out, they demonstrate on the street and all that. But then the kind of association or the youth movement that I want to form is more of creating an awareness. When we are in town, when we see something about the country. Recently, I took pictures of some of the roads in Ghana. They were in a very bad shape, and I posted it on my social media. But then people weren't retweeting, people weren't sharing them, because guess what? They don't really care. So I think the support would be to have a very strong youth who would always and constantly be taking out the bad things happening now. communities. We see videos of policemen taking bribes.
I think we are having a little bit problem.
I also think that affecting the country in this direction would be a good effective.
We are having some technical issue. Sam?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so go ahead. We are having some.
We lost you, Sam. You were talking about the recent post that you made where you posted something about the bad roads in Ghana, and you were now talking about the responses you got from there.
Okay, so I was saying that I took pictures of some of the bad roads in our communities and I posted it online, and guess what? No one shared it. It's like everyone was minding their business. No one retweeted it. No one said anything about it. So I think having a strong movement in probably all the 16 regions in the country, our main role, our main job is to bring out the bad seeds and the bad nuts in the community. We see roads that are not in a good shape, we bring it out. We see farms that are being schools that have been left in the bushes, buses that have been left in the bushes, we bring it to light, and we will be a force. More like you are constantly letting the governments know that this is what is happening behind the scenes. Because those in power, they are in their cars, they don't know what is happening. They are either asleep, they are just walking through town. They don't really know what is happening in the villages. They don't really know what is happening in the cities, some of the cities, because they are from their work offices and straight to work. So I think having a movement like that would be of a great support to me.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and I believe it's what you are talking about, the youth-led advocacy. So you need to you can play a crucial role in advocating for policies that support development.
Maybe just a quick question as well there, Dr. Diallo. What I would like to find out from Sam, do you think that it could be that the young people have a fear of maybe what could happen to them if they are seen to be speaking out on such issues? What do you think is making them not interested in engaging with such issues? Is it because they are more concerned with bread and butter issues, or is it because there's a fear that someone will come and say, hey, be quiet, why are you making this noise?
Okay, so something funny happened last week. A friend of mine wanted to start a podcast and he was looking for topics to talk about. And I suggested that we talk about social issues, that is, things happening in the country. And his response was that it was something controversial and he's scared that the matrix will come from him. And that is the first thing, the fear of being, intimidated. Now in Ghana, when an older person comes out to call the government, to talk about what is happening in the government, he goes scot-free, nothing happens. He can say whatever he wants to say. But then once it's a young person coming out to speak, he's been arrested, that he's causing chaos, he's trying to bring coup d'etat. I mean, there have been several instances where young people have been arrested because they thought they speaking up or they bringing out ideas meant they wanted to cause chaos in the country. So I think the first thing is fear. And the second thing is, the fear is in two types. The first fear is being arrested, being persecuted, being hunted by the police and all that. And the second fear is being alone. Most people are scared that no one will support them. Once they start, there have been people on social media, they've started the demonstrations, campaigns, and no one was supporting them. So along the line, they just give up and forget about it. So the fear is in two forms: the fear of being persecuted by the government and also the fear of not being supported by other people. Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think all comes to lack of free speech.
Freedom.
So, and also I think the youth, that you need to get together. You need, in this case, you won't feel alone because if you get together, you will have more power. You can advocate whatever you want in order to access to development. So we have lack of democracy, free speech, and also the fact the youth, you are not organized in terms of being together in order to put your ideas up front. So you're absolutely right.
Well, also with the fear, I think it started from childhood. Okay, in our homes, in our schools, when you try to speak up, when maybe your teacher makes a mistake and you try to correct him, their response and the way they shut you up and all that, that's where it all starts. When an older person at home makes a mistake and you try to correct him, they are like, hey, you can't correct an older person. In school, even when the teacher makes a mistake on the board and you try to correct it, they make you feel as if you are trying to be too known or you are trying to bring the teacher down. So that fear had been ingrained in us since childhood. And even in universities, most of us can't ask questions in class because we are being, the fear of being tag that's being tuned or is being planted in you. You have that fear right from infancy. So this same fear grows in us, and when we get to our 20s, 30s, we can't speak up to the government. We can't call them out. Yes.
Thank you, Sam. Well said. Before we pass on to the next topic, just a quick comment from JB.
Yeah, Sam.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an input. I think the work you are doing is very important.
Yeah.
In our social setup.
Yeah.
But if you say your community, I don't know what you mean by your community, you're working within your community. But you think that at this stage, now to get our young people enlightened, become enlightened, we should move into the
lack of faith.
Yeah, we should move into the school system.
Yes.
The secondary schools, the tertiary institutions, and set up maybe entrepreneurial societies that once in a while you and your peers will go and give them lectures or talks just to enlighten them so that they will imbibe what they are supposed to experience when they come out of school. I think with your work, this is what you start looking at. But I don't know, as a teacher said, who is sponsoring you? How do you get the resources? If you should even start going to the various schools to set up the clubs there, by which your people like you or other persons can go and other millennials can go and give them some lectures or talks just to enlighten them. What about that option two?
Okay, so with regards to sponsorship, we wouldn't rely solely on sponsorship, because relying on sponsorship can make you stuck along the line, because when the sponsorship doesn't come, your movement is restricted. So I think for now we'll go with a limited number of people who can self-sponsor. They can sponsor themselves and go on the journey. We don't really need people to come and back us. We don't need that much of a team of maybe 30 people, 40. We just need a few of ourselves. We go out there, do the work, and then we just come back.
Thank you, Sam. The time is moving. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, also, dear listeners. And today's Africa, your radio show dedicated to subjects that are important to African descent, let's say to all who loves Africa, every Saturday at 11 a.m. Standard Time or 3 p.m. GMT. So we are moving now, because the time is running. We are moving to the next topic, technology and innovation. So technology is transforming Africa, and young people are at the forefront of this revolution. And I believe also government can invest in building the digital infrastructure that is necessary to connect young people to the global economy, including, let's say, high-speed internet and mobile networks. And as we are facing it right now, we have a lot of problem in terms of network. So even we have it wasn't easy for you today to go through this discussion, because the line is cutting off, etc. So I think it's lacking. So what you have to say about that?
With regards to technology, I think it's in two phases. About 40% of the country's population aren't introduced to technology yet. When you go to, it's more like technology is only available to people in the capital city. When you go to the villages, most schools don't have access to internet, proper internet, and computers and all these things. The government doesn't really focus much more on those in the smaller cities. And when it comes to internet connectivity and also mobile networks, I think the government should be able to set up multiple different mobile networks. In Ghana, we currently have just 3. And I understand that in America and Canada, they have more than 3. I believe they have more than 3 internet or mobile networks. So having the government establish about 4 of them, which will also be a source of revenue to them, can be a great way where they can improve their technology. So probably with regards to the mobile networks, you can have mobile networks that will focus on people in the smaller cities. You go to a city in Ghana, and there's one mobile network that is focusing more on that city, providing stronger internet connections. And you come to those in the city, there was also a mobile network for people like that, and it's also enhanced technology. Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. Sister Cynthia, what do you have to add in what just Sam said? I know you are involved in empowering young youth in terms of innovation, technology. What do you have to say?
When it comes to the issue of innovation, it's one of those areas where I believe that we need an approach that starts from the household, from the home institution, because right now we are living in an era where our young people are engaging with other people who are across the globe in different spaces. So firstly, we as parents, and I'll put on the hat of parents, are caught in between this space where we are trying to protect our young people from accessing maybe information that could affect what maybe we want to preserve as our cultural values. So I've found that many parents are caught in between this space where they are stifling their children and the young people from growing because they're also trying to protect them from the danger of internet, because JD brought up this issue of internet technology. So firstly, on that front, we need to be able to align ourselves and say, how do we create an environment that it enables the young people to still remain innovative? And again, not even talking about technology, right from birth, do we allow our young people to actually investigate with curiosity on how things are developed, whether they're mechanical structures, whatever the case may be? Because we have young, innovative minds, but many times because we are afraid that when they become too explorative, they can expose themselves to harm. We end up shutting down that innovative spirit in young people. So this is just me crying out to all the parents and guardians out there to say, let us be careful how we are being stewards of the gifts that we have in these young people, from even before they even get into the school system. Some of them have very genius gifts and they want to explore and innovate, but sometimes we shut them down. So that's my first submission there. And then secondly, my call out would be again to those that are in places of government where funding can be availed within the area of research and innovation. There is a lot of institutions that we have that focus on innovation and research, but the support that is coming from our own governments is limited. And sometimes when it does come through, it does not see through the entire phase into implementation. What ends up happening is we end up having other interested parties who may be coming to actually exploit our own innovations, our own research, our own young people. And many times they open up opportunities which are far better in their own countries. So we come back again to the conversation we had a few weeks ago about our brain drain, because we have young people who are innovative, and when that talent is noticed, we definitely have countries that believe that those gifts would serve them better. So we have talented, young, innovative Africans who are not being supported in their startups and whose brains that are innovative, that could be developing our African continent, are being taken and used to develop other countries. So these are some of my thoughts around how we, as various stakeholders, whether we are parents, whether we are community leaders, whether we are government leaders, to begin to ask ourselves, how can we support this agenda of innovation from the time that a child is born? How do we begin to create that environment that stimulates them to be innovative? Because it's even in our questioning, it's in the way we engage them, it's in the way we have conversations with them. Because for as long as we say, I am the adult, you have to respect me, don't say anything which is different from me, my opinion and my thoughts are what rule the day. For as long as even that a parenting approach, which is not consultative, if it is not balanced, it will also affect the innovativeness of our young people, because they then just feel that they're going to be students for life and they just need to sit and learn. But at what point do they also innovate and come up with solutions? So those are my thoughts around that, our host, Dr. Diallo. And I would have really loved to hear some of the innovations that Sam Charles is working on with some of his youth advocacy programs as well.
Yeah, we lost him. Maybe he will be back. But before that, so you're absolutely right. Technology has the potential to transform Africa's economy and society. And obviously, the youth can play a critical role in developing and adopting new technology, particularly in areas such, we talk about agriculture, even healthcare, education, even in the industrial or information technology. So, but again, they need to be supported by the government and stakeholders. Charles is back and you are muted. So I don't know if you heard what Sister Cynthia said.
Yeah, I had a bit of that.
Yes. So what do you have to say about that before we let Brother JD comment on it? Just a few.
I think with regards to technology, I think the parents also play a massive role with it. Most of us weren't allowed you to get access to technology right from infancy. Right from childhood. Probably we started getting access to mobile phones when we were 16, 17, most of the times after 18, after 19. And it created that perception that technology is a bad thing. But then I was wondering how we could get access to the technology at a very young age, probably 10, 11, 12, but then we were taught to use them. We were taught that these are the right things on technology. These were the wrong things on technology. But because they didn't teach us right from infancy, they gave it to us in our older stages. We weren't taught anything, and we all had the manual to use technology from our friends. We started asking our friends how we are going to use our technology, how we are going to do this, how we are going to do that. And our friends don't know much like our parents do. So I think that was also corrupted a lot of people when it comes to issues related to technology.
Thank you. Brother JD, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I think Cynthia has virtually raised all the issues. But I was in Ghana and most African countries, notice that almost everybody has a phone.
Mm-hmm.
And the phone that we have can be used to do so many things that will help to enhance our progress. But I noticed that over here, if you just survey through the various apps on the phone, you see African women dancing, virtually semi-naked.
Yes, on TikTok.
Showing their beauty, their buttocks, and what have you.
Very true.
But technology, as I said my intro when I joined the program, China and other places, the millennials are using technology to develop their countries. But who should give the direction? Who should bring the policy that will say that before you finish schooling, you know the value of technology, you know the value of the phone you are holding, you know the value of the laptop you are holding. The laptop that you are holding can generate the business at home. If you look at the big value thing, and with the laptop and the right app, you can do a lot of businesses along the line, from the farm to the haulage to the factory, and have a lot of beneficial things for yourself and for your state or for the nation. But what's the policy to congregate all of us around technology and tell us that, look, now the world is moving towards technology, and then where to go is technology. But if you have technology, it doesn't mean that you should only use it to chat with your friends, but you should also play around the apps and use the apps to do business. I just mentioned the typical example of China, where a segment of the young people in China are startups, and they do business, internet business among their group, and they pay taxes to the states. So security has a lot of value, but we in Africa, we are not making the best use of it. And it's up to our governments to bring out good policies that will make technology beneficial to us. Because of politics, a government will come and say, I'm distributing laptops. It's going to bring some quack laptops, which will not work for even 3 years, and they will break down.
Yes.
And
Yes.
most of the schools have in the hinterland, they haven't even seen a laptop before. They haven't seen a computer before. The teacher will go and draw the parts of the computer on the blackboard. So the children will be imagining what computer is like. But this thing they call computer or the technology can really change so many things for us. But we are just agreed on this program that we should encourage the youth to go back to the land. But if the youth are not going, and we have the best use of technology can also bring us money. Technology can also bring us jobs. Startup can help the entrepreneurial spirit of our youth come out and do business so that the youth will not come out and look on the government to provide jobs for them. So, Sam, tell us, what are you young people doing with the technology space that has been given to us?
Thank you, JD. You're absolutely right. And technology is not used for the right purpose. Yeah,
Sam
you're saying, you're saying technology is not used for the right purpose, for the right reason for efficient development. It's rather used, for other stuff, which not, very useful for the development of Africa. So in this case, before we move on to the next topic, what do you have quickly? What do you have to say about what Dr. JD said? It seems he's muted. Sam? Okay, so maybe you can go to the next topic while he's coming back. The next topic, we talk about leadership. Africa needs strong and visionary leaders who can inspire and guide the continent towards a brighter future. And Africa, the youth can step up, as he was saying, Sam previously, and take on leadership roles, whether in government, businesses, and civil society. So before we give the floor to Sam, maybe we let Sister Cynthia to just comment on that.
The topic of leadership is definitely something that remains critical in terms of how we are approaching the grooming of leaders on the African continent. Some of the challenges that we have today are not so much because we do not have the kind of people on the African continent who can lead, but the question is, are people able to lead from where they are, and are they able to have the influence and the impact that is needed for a real turnaround in terms of development? And also another thing that we need to consider is, how have we looked at leadership, and how have we looked at the definition of what leadership can do to turn around the fortunes of a nation, of a continent? Because many times, if we just look at leadership from the perspective of we are talking about the government, then we need to redefine a lot of things, because leadership starts from personal leadership. How is an individual leading themselves well in terms of their own personal development plan? Because before you even start leading other people, the question is, how well are you leading yourself? So if we look at leadership from the perspective of you are in a position of power and authority, we may need to rethink that and backtrack and say, what are we deliberately doing to make sure that people are leading themselves well in their own individual lives before they are entrusted to be stewards over resources. The reason why we have challenges of corruption and greed and misuse and misappropriation of funds and resources is because the personal leadership factor is lacking. So let us begin to look at how all institutions, again, from the family, how are we grooming our young people to be responsible? Not just to lead other people, but to lead themselves well. The simple things, being able to make their own bed, the simple things, being able to take accountability, the simple things, showing integrity in their behavior, in consistently delivering on their word. So when I talk about leadership, Dr. Diallo, I do not want to look at just leadership from a perspective of national leadership. I want us to look at how do we start grooming leadership and how do we start encouraging young people to take on leadership platforms. And when we look at young people, we're looking at both the young men and the young women. Are we giving them equal opportunities? Are we encouraging them to say, hey, there is an opportunity for you to actually lead in this neighborhood? We have this situation in this neighborhood. What can you do collectively with your friends to make sure that you address the situation in the neighborhood? So they start learning from there to say, we take care of our neighborhood. Then it grows beyond that. But this person has learned to lead their finances well. So you are teaching them from a perspective of their own personal budgets. How do you manage your own budgets? Because if someone cannot lead themselves there, and then you are going to entrust them with a whole treasury of a nation, how do you expect them to have the discipline? So I would like us to reframe a lot of our discussions around leadership so that at the end of the day, we are saying, how are we actually developing the kind of leaders that Africa needs in order for her development to be sustainable?
You're absolutely right. And as you said, we need to start from, ourselves in an individual level and in a national level as well. So the integrity, consistency, we should start grooming leaders at all levels. And I believe also the government, has a role to play in this. So they need to engage young people in the decision-making process. In order to as we talked previously, to have them to be part of the development of policies and programs. So in for the aspirations as a whole. So it's very important. I think we lost also brother JD at the same time. So I believe I agree with you. It's not, when you talk about leadership, we just think about, at the national level, at the higher level, but also he need to start even from the family. We need to teach the children, the youth.
Yes, and the teaching should not only be, in the classroom. We need to be good role models and mentors.
Like a mentor.
I can see Sam is back. Sam, we're talking about leadership. We would like to just hear in terms of maybe mentoring. Do you actually have any people that you can say, these are my role models, I have access to these mentors, they are grooming me? And I think we've lost him again, but I was wanting to ask him whether he feels as a young person that he has access to the kind of mentors that can groom him as a leader in the places that he is aspiring to become. Because right now he's a law student, yet he has also these multiple talents and skills and crafts that he has. So we need to be asking ourselves whether we are availing ourselves to actually support our young people in terms of grooming them, because some of them want to be enterprising, but do they have access to those role models who have gone before them and have built very good enterprises? So these are some of the questions that I think we need to be wrestling with as well.
Yeah, it's true, and mentorship is very important, and it's crucial to supporting young people and helping them realize their potential. In this case, as I always say, governments and organizations can create mentorship programs that connect young people with experienced professionals who can provide guidance and support. And I think it's lacking also in Africa. I think something we need to think about. Brother JD, what do you have to say about that?
That's very important because the young people are going to take over from us. But what kind of leadership examples are we showing the young people? Because when you talk about leadership, as Cynthia just said, we have leadership in our churches, leadership in our communities, leadership in our schools, leadership in our workplaces. What kind of leadership examples are we showing the young people? But definitely, the way we conduct ourselves as adults is what the young people are going to imbibe or learn, then use when they grow up. Are we showing them good models about leadership? Because it looks like in Africa, what everybody is chasing is money. If you look at the churches, they are chasing money. If you look at our chiefs, they are giving lands for people to do galamsey illegally, so to exploit gold so that they get money. If you look at our governance system, they need money to run their campaigns. So in Africa, everything is about money. So what kind of leadership models are we showing the youth? Definitely, we have to look at, much as we are looking at our various areas of profession, we should also concentrate on educating our youth about good models of leadership. We have to send the various achievers in our communities to our schools, maybe over the weekends, to educate them and tell them why they were able to get to that level of leadership that they have reached. Are we doing all those things? Those things you don't need so much money to do. Because if somebody has done well in an industry, where he started from the village, he has moved through the system, and now he owns a very big industry, and he has employed a lot of people. Such a leader, have we put in policies that will enable us to send such people to the various schools to give them lectures, so that you will get the experiences, those negative things that he was going to do while he's climbing up, and the good things that has made to get to the top. Do we have any structure, any policy by which we inculcate it to the youth by way of mentorship? This is what we should look at. But Sam is here, so I will not talk much. I will let Sam start, then we ask questions. Sam is here.
Yes, about mentorship, Sam. So I was saying mentorship is critical to supporting young people and helping them realize their potential. So, and I was saying government organizations can create mentorship programs that connect young people with experienced professionals who can provide them guidance and support. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, so personally, I think the best mentorship that we the youth can get is from their actions. So if they mentor us and they go to parliament and they are still messing around, when they mentor us and they are still insulting each other on social media and all that, the mentorship will be of no use. But then some time ago, I was thinking about something that should there be a case where we have something like the youth government? We also have people, just like we have the older people, we have the youth government, we have the youth president for probably this constituency, the youth president for this constituency, which also has a parliament. We have the youth president, and that is the way that we can also represent the youth in government. That would be a very great way to start. Or if instead of having both ministers as the main minister and the deputy minister being adults, I think we having a main minister to be an older person and the deputy minister to be a young person or a youth would be a great way to have the youth's voice heard in parliament, and also to be a great way to mentor the youth. Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. We are running out of time. We are almost at the end of the program, but just I would like to, about social development. I believe addressing social issues such as poverty, inequality, gender is critical to promoting inclusiveness and sustainability development in Africa. So what do you have to say in terms of should the government and stakeholder prioritize such development policies and programs that target young people, particularly those who are from disadvantaged background? Quickly, what do you have to say about that? Sam. It seems he's having network problem. Maybe Sister Cynthia, maybe a few words about that.
Well, definitely the youth are the great advocates that can actually help us in terms of steering how social change should be done, because when we look at how we have been socialized, that is what ends up informing how we end up leading. So we also want to be able to have them getting involved in terms of being agents of social change. So there's so many narratives that still need attention, whether it's a question of having more participation by women in, bringing in change and impact within their communities, whether we're looking at issues that impact drug usage, for example. Those are things, substance abuse, that are haunting not only the African continent, but globally, world over. Those are real social issues that need to be addressed. So we do need the young people at the forefront, Dr. Diallo, leading these conversations, so that as peers, they are also supporting each other and saying, look, we are part of the solution. Let us not just be part of the problem. How do we bring social change? So these are conversations that I would like the young people to encourage them to continue having, so that we are developing an Africa that we are proud of, really. So yes, we need social change influencers, and the young people are the right people to be in those spaces, starting those conversations, being involved in those conversations, and taking the lead as well.
Thank you, Sister Cynthia. Brother JD.
Yeah, Cynthia said it all, but definitely we should empower the young people, give them the opportunity to learn from those who have done well. We should empower them to be able to take over at the right time. But the system that we have in our countries is not good. It's not helping these young people to imbibe those experiences, those good tendencies that will help them to develop our countries. And it's unfortunate Sam is not here. But I think Lave is doing something great by giving the young people the opportunity to come here for our discussion, so that they take it from here. Look, that's all. The only thing I want to say.
Thank you. I think we are on the.
Look, that's what I want to say.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Sam is back.
Your man is here. Yeah, your man is back.
Yeah, Sam, quickly, because they're at the end of the program. Quickly about, I don't know if you heard my question in regard to, the social. Did you hear my question? If not, I will say it again. Sam? I see we are having problem with the audio.
Unless maybe he may want to just post his quick thoughts on the chat there, Sam.
Yes.
Any parting shots regarding just social development, social engagement as young people? What are your thoughts around that?
I think we are having problem with
technology.
Technology. Yeah. Again, what we are talking about technology now. We need, the governments, African government, need to work on it. Sam, are you back? No. Okay. So maybe you can. Okay, maybe you can, finish, end the program today here. It was very interesting discussion, and we couldn't maybe talk all what we need to talk about today. So we'll need more time, and I believe we'll have also more youth. We'll have more youth to discuss this topic. So we have part 1, part 2. I believe we'll definitely have part 3 and even part 4, because there is a lot to talk about the youth. So it's true, developing Africa with the youth is a critical aspect of promoting sustainable growth and development of the continent, because we know Africa is home to the largest population of young people in the world, which is over. We said it last week, 60% of the population under the age of 25. So we have the unique opportunity for harnessing the energy, creativity, and innovation of the youth to drive economic, social, and political development. Last word, Sister Cynthia. Oh, Sam is back.
Yeah.
You hear me, Sam?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. So we talk about social development, in terms of so social issues, how the youth can contribute to help, to raise social development issues like poverty,
Yes.
gender equality,
Yes.
etc.
Okay, so what's my take on how the youth can raise awareness on these things? I think we using the social media, I think our energy has been transferred or directed to the wrong side. Our energy has been directed towards celebrity news, beefs online and all these things. So I think the youth itself, we need proper education. And I think it's a long way to go. It's not 5 years something. It will take a very long time for the youth to channel the energy they have for all these musicians, all these celebrities, gossip and stuff, and to channel them into proper social and developmental issues. Because recently, when Ghana was having their Fix the Country project, for about a week, the youth, everyone was talking about it. We were on it so hard. And then along the line, one lady came online, posted these TikTok videos, and that was it. The news went dead. It was trending #1 on Twitter. And after the lady posted a video, the lady rather became the #1 trend because we had lost our focus, we had lost our attention, and we have directed it towards celebrity news. So I think the youth itself, we need to raise an awareness among ourselves and channel the energy we have towards celebrities, musicians, all these internet drama into forcing or pressing the government to actually do the work.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam. Final word, Sister Cynthia.
I do agree with what Sam has just said. Let us use our technology appropriately so that we can actually become agents of social change. Let's look at the topics that we need to actually begin to amplify so that we use the technology available to us to bring that change and impact. Let's not abuse technology. Let's use our influence correctly and appropriately so that we can develop Africa with the youth.
Thank you, Sister Cynthia. Brother JD, final words.
Yeah. So July is what we have now. So all governments should do well to have good policies that Africa can reap the benefits of the new thing on the technology to benefit our various countries. And the youth should spearhead this because they are the future and the present of our countries. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Brother JD.
That's my comment.
Developing Africa with the youth requires a holistic approach and prioritize education and skill development, entrepreneurship and innovation, youth participation in decision making, and the creation of an enabling environment for youth-led development. By investing in the potential of young people, Africa can harness its demographic dividend and realize its full potential as a prosperous and sustainable continent. Thank you very much, Sam, for being
here. Welcome.
It was very, 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 very interesting. And
thank you.
Make sure we'll have you again. It won't be the last time. We'll have you in the near future. It was very interesting. So thank you for all what you are doing. Thank you, Sister Cynthia, also for the great contributions, the great questions. Thank you, Brother JD, the great contribution, the great question. It was very interesting. Again, we'll see you in next week, same time, same platform. Thank you all, listeners. Thank you very much. Bye now. We love you all.
Bye.
Bye.